Alright guys, I'm gonna be honest here. I wasn't able to get Eldridge to be here for this particular intro. I know she was sleepy, and I'm not the type of person who's literally going to drag a little one all over the place. So, for the time being, you guys are just gonna have to deal with this placeholder for now. We really tried, but I don't think we're gonna try anything else. Especially after what happened to San Diego today. For those wondering what happened, well... Alright, so we're on to destroyers. God, when was the last time I reviewed a destroyer? Anyway, we'll be spending today looking at the destroyer from the Eagle Union, USS Eldridge. Now, Eldridge can be obtained by earning enough merit in PvP exercises and buying her in the merit store. It might take a bit to get her if you're really looking into this character for whatever reasons you might be interested in. Anyway, being one of the few SR destroyers in the Eagle roster, can she hold up to that rarity or will she fall just short? Let's take a look and see how she does. Now, I know that Alan is the other only natural SR destroyer that the Eagle Union has, but I have not covered her yet, so we'll have to wait a bit on her. So for this review, I'll compare her against Laffy Retrofit. Now, Laffy is a pretty solid destroyer when retrofitted, so she should be a good comparison, as that might help us see how she stands statline-wise. Looking into her survival stats though, Eldridge has a pretty low health pool, at just a bit over 1.4k. This health actually puts her at odds with some of the Sakura Empire destroyer health pools. This, combined with light armor, unfortunately means that HE gun type enemies will definitely hurt her pretty badly. So be very careful against any enemy type using HE guns. Torpedoes shouldn't be a huge concern, but do keep in mind that her health pool is still scary low, so she may drop quicker than expected. She does try to be significantly tankier with her pretty high evasion. This does barely pass up Laffy's evasion, so she'll have a slightly better chance at dodging attacks than Laffy will. Lastly, Eldridge's anti-air barely beats Laffy, and even then it's still quite low, so don't expect them to contribute too much to the anti-air game. Though to be honest, most destroyers don't usually have an amazing anti-air stat. I say most because some of them really do try. Alright, anyway. Starting off, she's strangely built like a Sakura Empire ship's stat line. Lower health, but makes up for it in evasion. Let's see how her offense capabilities are nonetheless though. Destroyers aren't generally known for firepower, save for a small select few like Z-23, Tashkent, and Suzuki can be. Eldridge sadly isn't a part of this group like Laffy is. As a result, it might be better to focus on a gun that fires fast just to get her barraged out as quickly as possible. Speaking of which, full stop, Eldridge is probably one of the craziest barrages that I've ever seen in a Vanguard. I mean, look at this! It's literally everywhere! I can definitely assure you that with how this barrage is, it's pretty much guaranteed to hit everything in a fight with how it works. So treat the barrage like a ridiculous amount of free damage on all targets. Anyway, back to her offense stats. Her torpedo is a decent bit more than Laffy's is, so she could be potentially better at getting torpedo damage out than Laffy can. Her reload is also a tad bit higher than Laffy's as well, so she'll have a better cooldown timer than Laffy will with those torpedoes. Now, Eldridge's performance will depend on her gear, which we'll quickly talk about the efficiencies here. Eldridge's main gun efficiency sits at 115%, which is surprisingly low compared to Laffy and other destroyers in the Eagle Union. Her torpedo efficiency does beat Laffy by a little, but sits at about overall average compared to any non-Sakura Empire destroyer. So what this means is that her overall damage output won't be very stellar. Lastly, her anti-air efficiency sits a tad bit lower than most destroyers again. This only further pushes the point that she's not going to be the best for anti-air. Overall, her kit isn't too promising for damage, but her survival game might actually be a bit decent. Now, when we do look at things for her at level 120, her stat changes aren't really that big. She does get a decent boost to health, which definitely does help, and a minor bump into her evasion. The boost to her reload, while it is a decent jump, it's not going to be anything drastic. For those that don't know, reload suffers a diminishing return situation once you get past around the 100 points. So anything above 200, it's not going to be too bad, but DD guns are already going to be pretty quick to fire. So I guess it will help a little bit, but it's not going to be anything major. if you're looking for torpedo damage, you might want to stick to a Sakura Empire destroyer. But let's at least see if her skills can give her some bargaining power for those looking for someone to bring into their fleet. Eldridge has one lone skill, and that is a blue one called Operation Rainbow, which gives up to a 15% chance to evade all incoming attacks for up to 10 seconds. This skill only procs when she takes damage and has a 20-second cooldown between activations. And also when the battle starts, it will start on cooldown going into a fight. This skill is an amazing damage controller, as it provides complete invulnerability to enemy attacks. I do want to make a quick reminder though that this does not include ramming damage, so keep that in mind. They'll still take damage if you ram something with him. Now, the cooldown bit honestly isn't too bad. The reason being that in PvP, the 20-second mark is usually when the backline starts to engage in the fight. Having that skill ready to proc at that time does help your Vanguard tank the damage. If anything, it's a great skill for those looking for the stall Vanguard strat. Now, it still does have a low chance to proc and only has that chance to proc when taking damage. This can be really tough when it comes to Eldridge's low health pool, so there's a good chance it won't proc at all. When it does though, it's pretty comical regardless of whether it's in PvP or PvE. One of my favorite memories was when I fought Bismarck as the Scherzo of Iron and Blood boss. She does have this pretty nasty black hole attack that she does at some random intervals in the fight. However, I did have Eldridge proc Operation Rainbow right before it, turning a severely damaging attack into a hilarious no damage stun lock. At the end of the day, it's a very powerful blue skill, but carries the price of never getting to actually use it in combat. So use it at your own risk. Overall, Eldridge is more focused on survival as a destroyer than doing damage. She has one of the best damage control skills in the game, but with it comes the penalty of a low proc chance. Her barrage is also rather decent in combat as well, and pretty much guaranteed to hit any and all targets in range just due to the sheer spread of it. However, despite being focused on survival, she does have a low health pool and has a chance to be taken out very quickly in PvP thanks to Sakura Empire torpedo fleets, which can be used to sidestep her skill's power. So the big question now comes to why use her? Well, as I mentioned in PvP, she can be quite the troll character to work with. Her skill is one of the few skills that can completely shut down my stun and done fleet formation. If you're looking for a character to help with a stall Vanguard, meaning that they last long enough for your backline to do considerable amounts of damage, she can provide that advantage. In PvE, however, I don't think she'll be that overall helpful. You can still use her to take advantage of her damage control skill. Just make sure you realize that she's very frail as a ship girl to have in a fleet, so it's best to consider this if things start to get pretty rough. Now I know that I said she won't be too helpful in PvE related content, but she still does have some applications that can help if everything lines up well. Her health pool is definitely scary for both fleets, but more so than in boss than in mob. With mob fleets you can avoid this a bit using healers, but boss fleets you generally don't have healers in your backline. The damage control skill will definitely be beneficial in both fleets, but it's good to remind everyone that it's better to out DPS a boss than it is to out tank it. If you're experiencing issues with damage in the mob fleet, you may need to bring a healer or change your fleet lineup completely. So the issue might just be something that's more than a little Eldridge can fix. Bottom line, Eldridge isn't the strongest ship of the bunch, but the risk she has can pay off by rewarding you with one of the strongest damage control skills in the game. So you're more than welcome to give her a shot if you like. Just remember that there's going to be a lot of RNG involved here. And that will be all for Eldridge. Hope you enjoyed it, and that it will help you in your future endeavors. Up next is my random pick, which shall be the leader of the Iris Libre, Richelieu herself. So look forward to her video when it comes out. Now, whether you are a regular viewer or a patron supporting the channel on Patreon, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys all again real soon.
I don't want you to take damage. Oh, there it is! There we go! Perfect timing! Perfect timing, Eldridge. Okay, so yes, you can black hole me, but it's not going to mean anything if you get Operation Rainbow. That's amazing. The timing on this boss fight so far.